Good morning, everyone. Today our team known as HATs or HATs is presenting our game Sun Harvest for you all. Our game is a linear adventure game based around the old Irish mythological god Lugh. Lugh was the original creator of the Lunasa Festival, hence the similar names. Our game will follow Lugh during the most important battle of his life, the Second Battle of Mag Tirde. This battle will take place between the Tuatha De Danann, a powerful humans representing the good in nature and humanity, and the Fomorians representing the evil in nature and humanity, led by Lugh's own grandfather, Baelor. The game itself will be semi-linear, consisting of moving throughout the presented world, solving any puzzles that may come your way, and fighting enemies that may appear.
So to come up with the ideas for this game, we would first set a brief by the Ring of Gullion, which is a formal brief, and it needed for they're asked us to make either a game, an animation, or a VFX film. And our group, we decided to make a game, and the requirements for that is that we needed at least one functioning level and a graphical user interface. Our game will contain both of these, and as such will meet the requirements set by the Ring of Gullion in their brief. For the game we decided to make, we've decided to include several levels, so we've gone over the requirements, and we're going to aim to build our game so we can run on several platforms in case they want to use it on their website or release a mobile app which can be played while people are walking around on the Ring of Gullion site.
In terms of genre, the game is obviously a third-person action-adventure game with a focus on combat, exploration, puzzle solving. The game's all about you play as a character from a third-person perspective, and you run throughout the levels. And we hope that in exploring the levels, the player will learn more about the mythology behind the Lunasa Festival. Some inspiration for our game, obviously the plot is inspired by Irish mythology, and in terms of gameplay, we were looking at some recent, really successful third-person action-adventure games like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a really big personal favourite of mine, and also like the Uncharted and Tomb Raider series as well.
So for the target audience, we've decided to go for a more younger side, but not like primary school children, because obviously there's going to be violence contained in our game because it'll have combat included. So we've gone for a more like young teens to young adults, so like in the range sort of like 14 up to 18, 19, as we feel it'll fit in well with the content of our game. This is to go hand in hand with the PEGI rating, which is decided by us, but if we were to market it on the wider audience, so internationally, we'd have to get, or in Europe, we need to get the PEGI ratings approval. To fit in our age rating, we need a minimum of PEGI 12, which has non-realistic violence towards human characters, and it can contain mild sexual posturing or innuendos.
Our game is based around the old Irish mythology, as already stated, surrounding Lugh, the god of harvest. Lugh was born from one of the Tuatha De Danann and a Fomorian, the two variants of God representing good and evil in nature, respectively. Foreseeing his death at the hands of his grandchild, Baelor had any of his daughter's children killed. However, when dropped into the ocean, Lugh managed to survive and came to grow up into Baelor's largest fear. He was adept at many things, including crafts, combat, and entertainment, and when he found the Tuatha De Danann were being mistreated by the Fomorians, he was confused as to why they wouldn't fight back, and inspired by Lugh, they decided to take action. This leads into where our game takes place, with the journeying throughout Old Ireland to collect artifacts and battle the Fomorians, leading up to his final confrontation with Baelor in the Second Battle of Mag Tirde.
So for the gameplay for our game, it's going to be like a standard action-adventure game in a third-person perspective. Players are going to be able to walk around through our levels and interact with objects and engage in combat with enemies. So that will include things like exploration of the levels, as I mentioned. We'll kind of have relics that are relevant to the old mythology, such as like Lugh's other weapons, such as a spear, and the Dagda's Cauldron, which is the creator, or the smith, who's another one of the old Irish pagan gods. Along with this is going to be combat involved and puzzle solving elements to add more of the depth of the game rather than just like running around and fighting enemies. And this is going to be encapsulated with a set of simple mechanics using sort of the standard de facto movement keys of boot, WASD, and the mouse controlling the camera. So it's not too different from any other games, but we're still going to have enough differences in our gameplay that will stand out from other things. and this will also make the game easier to pick up for like the player base.
In terms of art style, we decided to go for a more low poly thing. So these are some assets that I made just to demonstrate what the game will look like. We think that by going for a more low poly art style, it'll keep it reasonably light-hearted. At the end of the day, this game is about education and not any kind of like big action, although action is definitely part of it. And we think it'll also help with the audience that we're going for. In terms of inspirations, there's been a lot of really good low poly games that have come out in the last few years, like Astroneer and Virginia over there as well. They really utilise their low poly art style to convey emotions. So that's the kind of thing that we want to recreate in this game. In terms of audio, all the audio in our game is sourced from the public domain. So we have a big file of audio, all the different audio clips that we'll use, which you can see here.
Regarding characters, we have our main character, Lou, who is very Mary Sue, as he would be considered very perfect in every way. He's adept in many different things, and he's the hero at the end of the day that barely takes any injuries during the whole battle. The game itself, it doesn't contain a whole lot of any dialogue at all. It doesn't follow the story too much when it's regarding gameplay, aside from a cutscene at the beginning which will explain the background. So he doesn't have a whole lot of character within the game, but it does, like, through the opening cutscene, show that he is courageous or cocky whenever he looks down on the threat that did Anon for being afraid of Fomorians and not fighting back. In regards to Baelor, he embodies evil and destruction and is very much a crux to Lou, as he just represents a big, large obstacle for him to overcome. Despite like, being perfect in every way, Baelor seems to be the opposite. Not that he's not perfect, but he's very powerful, and he just represents evil, with a very daunting, large body, and an eye that's able to poison anything that it touches with just a simple stare. Lastly, there are the Fomorians, which are the base enemies that you'll find running around the game. They're very simplistic, and they don't have a lot of character to them, but they're mainly there just to emphasize the fact that Lou is fighting in a war in this, and he's fighting an army. So he's constantly coming across different variants of Fomorian in his battles.
The environment of the game is based around the countryside surrounding the rebellion and Irish countryside in general. So, it's the actual level design is designed to encourage exploration. We want the player to learn through exploring each level and finding the relics throughout, and learning more through just the design of the level. There's some images of the rebellion there, and we think that's kind of the style that we want to go for because we think it fits thematically and it's visually relevant.
Finally, we have our playboards. Our first game has 2 levels in total, with the second level being split into 2 parts. We'll take a look at the first level, involving starting in a small clearing, and then it splits off into 2 paths at this large river area here. If you're able to make the jump, you'll continue on to the primary area with an artifact here. And if you go into the river, there's also an artifact. So you can collect different artifacts. If you were to arrive at the same destination, you could backtrack to the other area. When you get to the end of these 2 paths, you will come across a small puzzle with a gate and 2 levers that you have to activate. And once activated, you can enter towards the Stone of Destiny, which is the endpoint for this level, and we'll encounter some enemies which will introduce you to the combat mechanics. Following this, you will head into level 2, which will take place along the coast. You will follow the coast, make some small short jumps, and then head up to an elevator-like room with some enemies present. You must defeat them, and then progress to the second half of this level. You will enter this room and walk past some rocks that you can use for defense as you're being attacked, and battle these enemies present here. You can then continue on to another branching pathway, which is for the semi-linear experience. This path will bring you to an artifact before you can drop down to the main area. This path will take you in directly, which will bring you to a boss fight, which will consist of Baelor as the final enemy. After you defeat him, you will head down this elevator, and it will bring you back to the beginning of that first level, right here. And that will be our game. We also have our user interface, The first playboard for user interface being representative of what the gameplay will look like. In the top left we'll have any hints, so whenever you come to the first jump over the river it will tell you how to perform the jump. So it'll say press space to jump, so you're aware of the controls, and as you're brought into more areas where you will need to know more controls, such as whenever you get to enemies it will explain how you can combat those enemies and what buttons you'll need to be pressing. In the bottom left we have the primary HUD or user interface whenever for the gameplay. It will involve the health bar, which is done in Ogham, which is an ancient Irish language, and each of these tallies represents 1 hit of health. So whenever you take damage, one of the tallies will be removed until you heal again. Underneath that represents the current weapon you're using, which the base weapon is Fragarak, which is a flaming sword, but other weapons can be obtained in other levels. Beyond this, we have the pause menu, which is activated with the escape key. It just gives you access to continue, options, or exit. Continue being like when you're, it'll bring you back into the game, and exit being closing the game. If you hit options, it'll bring you to the options menu, which is just 2 volume controls, being your master volume, so just the entire volume of the game, but also music. So you can turn the music down to keep the max per volume up, so the sound effects will still be in play, but you'll be able to play your own music or turn the music down. That is our presentation for our game Sun Harvest. Does anyone have any questions?
My only question is, you can collect different artifacts as they go around the level. Are them artifacts based on the Lunacy Festival or the gods or just Irish mythology?
They're based on objects that are based in the Irish mythology, and then whenever you collect them it'll give you like a description of what they are and how they fit into the lore.
Okay, great.
Thank you.